These people are not from our country, but they're human beings, and all of us ascribe to a value of the dignity of the human person. Many of us who come from various faith denominations, we believe that our faith calls us to respond to the stranger, to respond to the one who is suffering. So all of these plans to build walls on our border, to build walls on the southern border of Mexico, to apprehend, to put people under bridges on the dirt, to deport them back, to reject them, all of that is absent the acknowledgement of the human person. I think that's not who we are, and I await the day when the conscience of the people of the United States awakens and it becomes a greater force in the driving of policy in the United States. I took a dad that was staying at one of our hospitalities, one of the hotels. I drove him down to Greyhound so that we could get the bus tickets for him, his wife, and his 3 boys. He had a 14-year-old boy, he had a 12-year-old boy, and a 9-year-old. And he was from Honduras. As we were driving down, he was explaining to me that in Honduras he had a good job. He had a good job, he lived well. He says, we had our own house. As a matter of fact, we actually owned 2 houses. My kids were going to private school. I had 2 cars. My wife had a car, I had a car. We lived well. There was no desire, there was no intention to come to the United States. If I ever applied for a visa, it would have been to be able to bring my family to go to Disneyland. We had a good life until they came after my 14-year-old son. And they wanted to take my 14-year-old son and integrate him into one of the gangs. He says, there is no way I can fight that. When I asked him, even though I know the answer, why didn't you go to the police? He looks at me like, don't you know anything? But I wanted to hear from him that you don't go to the police because the police are connected to the gangs. You have no choice. If you value the life of your son, you have no choice but to flee. We arrived at Greyhound, we bought the bus tickets, we then got back and I was driving him back. He got very, very quiet. And I turned over and I looked at him and he looked at me and he said, you know, the people here in the United States have no idea what it is like to lose everything. He said, I'm back at 0 and I don't even know if they're going to let me stay. When we talk about all of this, that Mexico's going to do this, the United States is going to do this, the vast majority of it is absent any real consideration for the reality, the poverty, the violence that these people are wanting to get away from.